Yeah.
Good and bad, right.
But I agree. I think there are certain departments, certain accounts we should be talking about as a board itself. I mean, we should be establishing a policy where a certain amount does go to OPEB,
Yep.
certain amount goes into capital stabilization. You know, all these rainy day accounts, we should be earmarking a certain amount of dollars every year for that. And it's something that, you know, I'm on a couple of committees, I've been talking about this recently, about how we can build up some of these reserve accounts.
Yes.
We're not getting anywhere with them, whether it be OPEB or stabilization or capital. I mean, we've got so many needs and we can't address them because we're so busy trying to backfill positions and take care of our daily needs, that these all become second or third issues.
Yep.
You know, we're not dealing with them the correct way. And to the point of having a policy, I think this board probably should start looking at how we can adopt a certain policy where a certain amount of money every year has to be put aside for these departments, these accounts, because we're never going to catch up if we don't figure out a way to try
Correct.
to stabilize these accounts. They're just not going to happen.
No, and that's exactly what I was going to talk about next. Good transition. Like I talked to you beforehand or something. And the next financial statement is page 17 and 18. These are more your traditional financial statements. This is really where bond rating agencies will look here more and judge you on your bond rating more than the first two. This is where the state will certify your free cash off of. And you can see under the general fund, your fund balance down unassigned, you'll see a positive 5.1 million. That will directly relate to what your stabilization balance is and what your free cash amount is. Your free cash was certified at 2.6 million, and you have two stabilization funds of capital and regular, approximately about 1.8 million. And that will equate to the 5.1. Difference being what you have in overlay, which you can get overlay surplus, which is about 400,000. So your two main reserves are free cash and stabilization. Again, you have no set policy right now what you retain in them. I would encourage all of our clients going forward, because that's what bond rating companies are looking for in writing. I will warn you that once you get them in writing and you say you're going to keep your reserves at 10%, and they start dropping down to 7-6%, you might be penalized in them. But again, in there you would have in your free cash, certified 10% is going to go to OPEB, 50% is going to go back to capital, 30% is going to go back into operating, and 20% to regenerate in the prior year.
Yeah, we haven't changed in recent years. Our reserve accounts haven't really budged much,
No.
because if we spend money, I'm on the capital committee, capital improvement committee, so we spend money, then in the fall we go back and we put that money back.
Yep.
And we might get lucky and put a few extra dollars back into the account, but we're not really ever, my frustration, we're not catching up.
No.
And we've got to figure out a way to make that happen, where we have a unit on the roof here. And back in 1986, when I first came on the finance committee, we talked about this antiquated HVAC unit up on the roof.
Still
Right
there.
above your head, actually. That, to this day, it's still the original HVAC and still isn't working right. So, I mean, that's just an example of what we've never had the money to take that bite,
Yep.
and make it happen. So we've got to get creative on, we had a meeting the other night with the police chief about the vehicles he's using and some of how they've, as much as we're trying to replace some of the units, others are falling apart.
Yep. No.
The engines are seizing and all these other issues, and we've got to get to a point where we have to have the equipment needed to get some of the work done that we need to get done. And it's just frustrating to me that, again, on the capital, and I've been doing it for a long time, it's like, okay, we're committed to these every year, we got a 5-year lease, we're dealing with it,
Yes, sir.
but we never seem to be able to get beyond that. And that's something I hope that this board can start taking a look at.
Yeah, no, it occurs a policy, and again, you're between your free cash and your stabilization, you're right about 9% of your budget, which, from 6 to 10% is good. The way looking at you, I encourage you to get to close to 10% as you can between the two. And then, as
Hold on one second, Mr. Eunice, you had something.
No, I was just going to ask you that question. What is a good policy as far as free cash? I know it comes up all the time, well, you found all this money in the fall, and I try and emphasize free cash is a good thing. You're supposed to end with free
Correct.
cash. Is there a percentage, 5% or whatever, that's
Well-
generally what you should end the year with in free cash?
There's no difference between free cash stabilization at the title. One's 2/3 get, one's half. That's about the only difference. So I know, a lot of our communities say, well, geez, we put $2 million from free cash into stabilization, but our reserve stayed the same. Well, it's the same reserve. So that will never increase. If you're just taking free cash to stabilization, you have to really take it from a tax rate or from an available fund to plummet into stabilization. What you have, and if you turn to page 21, I'll kind of walk through of how your free cash came about in 2016. And you can see this is your budget versus actual. If we go to the column all the way out, that's the variance, how you compare to your budget. And you can see on your revenue side, your budgeted revenue is about 50 million, 50.7 million, which came in is about 1.4 over what you budgeted. Again, that's going to generate free cash for you. The two big factors, you'll see excise and other taxes, 327,000. Again, you're very conservative on that, and that's good because, again, it's market-based with vehicles. Again, if no one's buying vehicles, your excise is going to go down. Your room occupancy taxes in there and your meals taxes in there. That's what's generating that surplus. So again, the town is very conservative, and that's a good theory and philosophy to have. You see license and permits and fees. You can see exceeded by 609,000. Again, that's a one-time event. You had a large building inspecting receipts, so you're probably not going to get that again. And then on the intergovernmental receipts is the Medicaid and Medicare money that came in. Again, that can fluctuate. So, and then your property taxes, you have an excellent collection rate of about 98%. So as we look at your revenues, about 1.4. One-time revenues in there is about $500,000, so about $1 million you're getting off your revenues, which is good. It's very conservative. I always encourage to be conservative on your receipts. And then on your expenditure side, you're turning back about $887,000, which compared to your budget is under 2%. That's very appropriate. What you're generating there. So what you're generating about 2.3 within your budget. Then you had prior year carrying forward about 300,000. So you're generating within your budget 2.3. Again, a lot of one-time events in there of the $500,000. So you're roughly about 1.8, which is good. So if you're going to use $1 million worth of operating, but you want to generate it back into your budget of $1 million. I know I have a lot of my clients will come to me saying, well, shouldn't that far out column be 0? Well, it should, but if you're going to do that, then you have to put something within your budget that you're putting into stabilization. You have to have a reserve to operate, and it should be between 8 and 10% of your budget. It's kind of where you are. So free cash is good. You want to generate, but you should know how you're generating it, where it's coming from. Again, if you had a lot of one-time events in your free cash, you wouldn't want to use that for operating because you're not going to get it the next year. So you've been consistently generating on your turnbacks. I think your turnbacks are very appropriate for the size community, this size budget. So I think it's very important to see where your free cash is generated from. That's kind of everything on the financial end. That, unless you have specific questions about it, I know.
Just one of the questions that came up in a prior meeting was the particular audit. So the audit oversaw the books, I guess I'll say. It didn't necessarily oversee policies and procedures of the departments?
No, it's a financial audit, so it's risk-based. So we look at your financial statements. We assess risk off the financials. We do a lot of analytical. Basically, your highest risk is in your treasurer's office and your collector's office. I mean, that's where your money is. That's your number one revenues are coming in between your property taxes over your receivables. We do a lot of testing at that level. We do a lot of testing at the budget level, making sure the budget you voted at town meeting to your recaps properly set. We do a lot of analytics, and then we do a lot of compliance with your procurement because we feel like that's the highest risk procurement with every city and town. So we do a lot of procurement, pull a lot of invoices. It's not an operational audit. That's a whole different thing. Where operational audit is, look at your police budget and can compare it to crime and say, do you have enough cruisers? Are you getting efficiency out of it? That's not what this does.
Okay.
That's a whole different professional group.
Right, okay, understood. Mr. Salvo.
Looking at the water and sewer budget.
Yep.
See some negatives. Is that because it was, can you explain to me what those are for?
What page you on?
What page is that?
Page 25.
25, yeah, that's probably the most useless statement to go around in governmental. This is your cash flow statement.
Yeah.
So the negatives means expenses,
Yeah.
so that's strictly cash flow. Not too sure why proprietary funds have cash flows. Not too sure what the use of them is, but if you turn to page 24, that will give you more of how your water and sewer department are doing. You see the water fund. Again, this is full accrual. This has depreciation in here instead of your debt payment. So the water department took an operating revenues of $3.4 million, had operating expenses of $2.1. They generated an income and loss before transfers of $974, and then you transferred for indirect costs of $276. So they had an operating profit, I want to say, of $697. So that's pretty healthy. The sewer fund. Again, had generated a profit of $223. But again, that's on a full accrual basis. And if you, page 23, that's the balance sheet end of it. And it's very comparable to the first balance sheet we talked about with the OPEB liabilities. They have their own balance sheet. And again, all their net positions are in the positive. You don't see them as negative. So they're doing well. But the cash flow statement, the negatives just mean the expenses.
Thank you.
No problem.
OPEB, is that part of the initial number you gave us, or is this additional?
This is their share of the
Yes,
OPEB for
under
the
the
different
enterprise
funds, yeah,
fund?
different cost centers, yeah.
I'm sorry, so the OPEB in the water sewer is not included in,
And the number for governmental,
Right.
yeah. Piece of it gets allocated out because they own a piece of it,
right, okay.
yeah.
One thing we have to do this year is make sure that we allocate something in their, the fixed and shared costs that they pay to us, the indirects.
Yep.
I'm not sure we're doing any OPEB in there. We'll have to look at that. and make
Currently,
sure.
you're not too many communities are. Because one of the things is, we start doing it now, when they actually pay them out of the trust, you can't hit them twice. I mean, that's way down the line. A lot of communities, you gotta get that sorted out first.
Okay.
That's kind of on the financial end, unless you have specific more
Kimball.
questions.
So, I've come in this town hall many a time in the past few years, and we always make fun of the fact that it seems like every time you come in here, we are getting a snowstorm.
Yeah.
And I believe you were supposed to be here last week, right?
Yeah, correct.
You had to cancel the meeting. So you're still living up to
Yeah,
your expectations.
We know the highway department needs to get ready when you're.
that's right, exactly.
We're gonna start placing bets on that, whether we're gonna get snow or not. But I think people, if anyone is paying attention at home, they have to understand that you guys don't just come in here and rubber stamp this whole process. I know you guys spend days in here going through everything, going through records. You take this room over,
Yeah,
and you spend a lot of time. So without getting into a lot of details, I think it's important for you to assure people out there that you take your job seriously, and what
Yes,
you
I
do is totally legit. And if there's an issue or a problem, you're gonna bring it to our attention.
yes.
And having said all that, is there anything we should be concerned about based on this whole report?
At the present time, no.
Okay.
But I'm an auditor, and I always say things can change on a dime. And the testing we do, but like I said, your financial accounting is there, and you do have controls over your significant accounts, which is your cash, your receivables. So, yeah, when a financial transaction, when you come to the counter to pay your real estate taxes, the resident should be confident that it's being accounted through for the system. And again, on the budget end, when you adopt your budget, the budget's being tracked, and it's being tracked against expenditures, and expenditures being posted. There is no expenditures happening outside of the books.
I just want to stress the fact that you're not rubber stamping this thing.
No.
You guys are spending a lot of money and a lot of time and detail
Yep,
getting
we're
it.
here with 6 people for a full week, and we go up to the school for 2 days, harass them, for 2 or 3 days, and all week. Believe me, we're in here pulling invoices, doing a lot of analytics. I'm sure by the time we leave, we get called a lot of bad names, but,
How long you been?
That's what
serving
happens
in
with
town?
us accountants.
How long we had you in town?
I think this is our 10th year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I get a watch or something?
Might have a pencil or.
We have to do some funding first. 2029.
Take all the snow you want
Oh,
away.
You're
will.
right.
I just have a comment.
Mr.
I-
Salvo.
You know, it just shows that all the department heads work within their budget. And, you know, to come back every year to find us pretty much flawless is very impressive. I think we do a good job of what we do. I think we need to continue to do that. So, you know, kudos to all the people that are in charge of finances and how they run their departments. We have some good employees.
I know you do, definitely.
Yeah, and, you know, I was going to mention the same thing, but kudos to all those departments that are doing, you know, handling all of these funds and doing the right thing.
Yeah.
It's important. I know we have, you know, James Puelo is here tonight, town accountant, who, you know, certainly has been with us quite a while as well, so he does a wonderful job as well as everybody else that's been involved. You know, and it's good to hear that there's no bad feedback when they're, you know, when you're asking questions and so forth, too.
Oh, yeah, very
That's something-
cooperative, you know.
Cooperative, yeah, so again, yeah, kudos to everybody that's been involved, and it's, you know, it's again good to hear that, you know, the town is doing what it should be doing from a financial standpoint.
Yeah, yeah, and again, we feel like the audit's 365 days, so if you have any questions about anything comes up during the year, don't hesitate. Call the office, you have budget questions, you have the new questions on this new municipal act, you know, please don't hesitate to call. If you have any questions, you know, concerns about anything, again, we're doing analytics to base our testing on. You know, we do a couple interviews, trying to pick out areas of concern, but, you know, if you have any areas that are concerning, we can incorporate them into our tests.
Excellent. Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah, hopefully it won't snow on the way back, huh?
Have a good day.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, up next, we have a few votes. This will be to approve MSBA Accelerated Repair Program Statement of Interest for the Henry L. Yale School, JCS, and LG Norse. Mr. Yunus, any comments before we read these, or?
Maybe the superintendent has some
Superintendent, okay.
comments.
Yes. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, yeah. Good evening, Ms. Mayetta.
Good evening. Well, first of all, I guess congratulations are in order considering the audit report that's come out, and to my colleagues in the other departments for a job well done. I'm before you today simply in a process. You've had maybe before you in terms of making sure that when there's the potential for grant funding of anything to do with physical plants on behalf of the school department, that I come forward and go through that process. In this particular case, there is no money currently involved. There's no article for the town meeting at this time, nothing. This is an accelerated program. We are looking at windows, and let me tell you why we're looking at windows. Literally the age of our buildings, the 3 buildings before you, and the ability to, through the MSBA, to get it partially grant funded like you did with, for example, the JCS roof and, of course, the high school renovation project in addition. So in this particular case, this has been planned by us in the last couple of years, where we've been working with the utility companies, not only with the utility companies, but also through Mr. Units in terms of going out bidding together, for example, for energy. And in this particular case, we've also been changing our lights into the more efficient. This is the next step. It's to continue to work to keep the heat in the building, keep the building safe, and to prolong the life of the building. MSBA does require an individual vote. The school committee has done that for each of their votes of the 3. We currently don't have any recommendation for the closure of a building. That doesn't mean that none of that is written in stone forever. It's a year-to-year process. At the end of this year of applying, if we are not chosen by MSBA, I'm back again next year requesting it.
Thank you, Ms. Mayetta. Any questions for Bill? Okay. Given that, Mr. Salvo, if you could read the first
So I'm
one.
ready.
Thank you.
Resolved, having convened an open meeting on February 6, 2017, prior to the closing date, the School Committee of Norton, in accordance with its charter, bylaws, and ordinance, have voted to authorize the superintendent to submit to the Massachusetts School Building Authority, the statement of interest form dated February 3rd, 2017, for the Henry A. Yale Elementary School located at 64 West Main Street in Norton, which describes and explains the following deficiencies of the priority categories for which an application may be submitted to the Massachusetts School Building Authority in the future. Replacement of all windows school-wide, and hereby further specify acknowledge that by submitting this statement of interest form, Massachusetts School Building Authority in no way guarantees the acceptance or approval of this application. The awarding of a grant or any other funding commitment from the Massachusetts School Building Authority or commits the city, town, regional school district to file an application for funding with the Massachusetts School Building Authority. School number one.
Take that in the form of a motion and a second. Any further discussion, any discussion? Given none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I too vote aye, that is unanimous. Mr. Salvo.
Mr. Chairman, resolved, having convened an open meeting on February 6, 2017, prior to the closing date, the School Committee of Norton, in accordance with its charter, bylaws, and ordinance, have voted to authorize the superintendent to submit to Massachusetts School Building Authority the statement of interest form dated February 3rd, 2017, for the J.C. Solomons Elementary School, located at 315 West Main Street in Norton, which describes and explains the following deficiencies and priority of category for which an application may be submitted to the Massachusetts School Building Authority in the future. Replacement of all windows school-wide, and hereby further specify acknowledge that by submitting this statement of interest form, Massachusetts School Building Authority in no way guarantees the acceptance of approval of this application. Awarding the grant of any other funding commitment from Massachusetts School Building Authority or commits city, town, regional school district to file an application for funding with the Massachusetts School Building Authority.
The motion and a second. Any further discussion? Given none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I too vote aye, that is unanimous. Mr. Salvo.
Resolved, having convened an open meeting on February 6, 2017, prior to the closing date, the School Committee of Norton, in accordance with the charter, bylaw, and ordinance, has voted to authorize the superintendent to submit to Massachusetts School Building Authority the statement of interest form dated February 3rd, 2017, for the LG North Elementary School located at 38 Plain Street in Norton, which describes and explains the following deficiencies in the priority category for which an application may be submitted to the Massachusetts School Building Authority in the future. Replacement of all windows school-wide, and hereby further specify acknowledge that by submitting this statement of interest form, Massachusetts School Building Authority in no way guarantees the acceptance or approval of this application. The awarding of a grant or any other funding commitment from the Massachusetts School Building Authority or commits the city, town, regional school district to filing an application for funding with the Massachusetts School Building Authority.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Given none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I too vote aye, that is unanimous. Excellent.
Do you have any more, Mr. Byetta?
Hopefully not next year, right? Right? Thank you again. Okay, next, I'm going to jump ahead to appointments, since we have the police chief here. Good evening, Chief Clark. And Mr. Salvo, I don't know if you have, you must have those three. How are you this evening?
Good evening, thank you.
There's some activity going on before we came in here, on, I think, a couple sides of the town.
Oh, yeah, yeah. So I come before you tonight to ask for you to approve an appointment, two police officer appointments. These are new positions. The thought behind this is it'll add personnel to the shifts and control and decrease overtime. That was the overtime was reaching about $500,000, and like I said last year, we could do a better job if we hired a couple officers. So, David Sullivan, who's to my immediate left, he has a bachelor's degree from Bridgewater State University. He's a certified EMT and has had experience in the private ambulance service. He also has completed the Reserve Intermittent Academy, and prior to coming to Norton, he served as a seasonal officer for the town of Hull. He's currently a special police officer. He comes to us through he's a hometown boy, and he's been described by the officers who work with him as motivated and has embraced the community policing aspect of police work, engaging with citizens. The second officer is Joshua Archer, again a Norton resident. He has a bachelor's degree from Bridgewater State University. He's also completed the Reserve Intermittent Academy. He's a special police officer with us, has been for a number of years. He's been working consistently with our POP team, and also has been volunteering. He's been a very dependable employee. He's worked as a seasonal police officer for us, as a temporary full-time police officer for us, and this is a good time for him to become a full-time police officer. So like anything else, we go through the civil service process. We request a list from civil service. They bring down a list of names. We establish a oral board who interviews all the prospective candidates, do background checks, a psychological, medical exam, and a PAT, which they have passed, and they're slated to, with your approval, go to the police academy, full-time police academy on Monday, February 27th.
Excellent, excellent. Any comments from you gentlemen at all? Now's your time, no. Okay, great, thank you. Mr. Salvo, if you
Chief,
want to.
just one
Yes.
comment for the chief. I happen to know both men here that are becoming Norton's full-time police officers. You know, in talking throughout the town about these two individuals in the last year and a half, they have nothing but respect for you two and nothing bad to say about you two, which is very unheard of. And, you know, in a small community, you say, you know, we don't want that guy, but you guys have both have a lot of respect for the public, trust me. So congratulations.
Mr.
I do
Campbell.
believe you have some experience based on, your performance so far, even as special police officer. I believe, Mr. Archer, you had an incident where you actually, I think you came under fire, right?
My shift did.
Yeah. Well, you were part of it. I know you were part of that, and, it's unfortunate in our small town, this does happen, but, the way that you handled yourself and your shift handled yourself that night was beyond exemption. It was a great job, and the fact that you demonstrated that early on shows that you're going to be a great police officer. So good luck to you, and good luck both to you in your new position. We need this type of police department. We've been very fortunate in years to have a very professional group of young people coming and going. I remember some of the older guys now, they're pretty much all, moved on, but it's great to see young, talented guys like yourself coming forward, so good luck to both of you.
That's actually a great point, because it's been talked about down the police station. Like we can request a civil service list, we can interview candidates, but there's nothing like real life experience in how you handle a situation.
Yep.
So.
I was just going to agree with that as well, because, your staff, chief, is tremendous. And, we see that in the different, not only people responding back to us, as a select board, but, through statistics and, the top 50, and I'm trying to think of what the number is in the country, I think, right? Top 50, I think, in the country as far as safety goes. So, both you two, certainly there's high expectations for the department, but you have individuals now in that department that have been doing it for, quite a long time. And so I would just, learn from them and just use every bit of knowledge that you can get from them to, to help yourself.
Thank you.
Anything else? Mr. Salvo.
At this time, I'd like to the Board of Selectmen from Michael D. Eunice, Town Manager, dated February 1st, 2017. Notice of employment of full-time civil service police officer. I hereby notify the Board of Selectmen that in accordance with the provisions of Article 4, Section 2B of the Norton Charter, acting in my capacity as an appointing authority, I have appointed the following individual as a full-time civil service police officer. Joshua E. Archer. Said this appointment was made on February 1st, 2017, in accordance with the provisions of the Norton Charter, and will be effective February 16, 2017, unless the Board of Selectmen votes to accept or reject this appointment prior to said date. However, I especially request this Board of acceptance of the appointment with effective date of February 27th, 2017.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Given that, I would entertain a motion to approve. I'm sorry.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
All those approve?
Aye.
I do vote aye. That is unanimous. I apologize, Joshua. Mr. Salvo.
Mr. Chairman, to the Board of Selectmen from Michael D. Units, Town Manager, dated February 1st, 2017, notice of appointment of a full-time civil service police officer. I hereby notify the Board of Selectmen that in accordance with the provisions of Article 4, Section 2B of the Norton Charter, acting in my capacity as the appointing authority, I have appointed the following individual as a full-time civil service police officer: David C. Sullivan, Jr. Said appointment was made on February 1st, 2017, in accordance with the provisions of the Norton Charter and will be effected February 16th, 2017, unless the Board of Selectmen votes to accept or reject the appointment prior to said date. However, I especially request this Board to accept this appointment with the effective date of February 27th, 2017.
The motion and a second. Any further discussion? Given none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I do vote aye. That is unanimous. Congratulations.
Thank you.
They still have a long road ahead of them. They have about a 24-week academy that they have to get through.
How long is the academy,
Good
Chief?
first step.
24 weeks.
Oh, they moved it up, huh?
So, yeah.
It's longer.
Yeah. So just, I guess just as an update about the special police, so with these two full-time appointments, we lose two special police officers, and we've said in the past that they're kind of our team. We'll actually be down 5 positions, 5 special police officer positions, one due to an inactive status due to a maternity leave, 2 resignations that went on to do other things, and then these 2 full-time appointments. So we're in the process of hiring a couple people now. We have 3 candidates that we're sponsoring to go to the Reserve Intermittent Academy. They'll get out in June, and then they'll have to start the FTO program. And we have one that's graduating in March that I'll come before you probably another month to seek an appointment for that. So.
Okay. It's quite a tough process. So is there a way to try to, I guess, avoid a lag of these, 5
Well, in the
positions, like,
So-
or whatever those number of positions are? I guess.
So, I mean, we're pretty picky about who we choose. You can't, it's very difficult to be a special police officer, have a full-time job, and have a family and social life. And we really need to be picky, and that's, one of the resignations, you just couldn't meet the requirements anymore. And it's not like when I started in 1989 that I went through a 2-month Reserve Intermittent Academy and then 40 hours of training with another officer, and then you could go on your own. I mean, those days are over. So the hours now are about 315 hours of Reserve Intermittent training, and then we put you through another 6 weeks of a field training officer program.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's pretty in-depth. So.
Yeah.
So it's very lengthy. And, we did have a couple candidates that we were looking to choose from, but one got hired by the MBTA and another one just didn't work out.
Okay. So so it's one of those things that you're always looking, but again, it's, it shows on the type of staff that you're hiring, certainly the quality of individual and
Yeah.
and professionalism that we're seeing, or that you're picking, I guess I'll say.
Yeah, thank you.
Great. Mr.
So
Kimball.
Chief, what are the qualifications? What if someone out there were listening tonight and maybe they're in college or they're trying to decide what kind of career they want to get into, what kind of qualifications are you looking for?
So you have to be 21 years old, because you have to be 21 to have a license to carry a firearm. Certainly we look for somebody with military or college, experience. Certainly people can send a resume or cover letter to my attention. And when we come around, we probably won't be going through another hiring phase till the late summer, probably early fall. That's usually when we will do it. And we'll see what people's experience are and, try to get them in the door. So.
Thank you. Any other questions for the chief? Okay, Mr. Williams.
Just wanted to talk about this SafeWise came out and said that Norton was the 9th safest community in the Commonwealth. So obviously a good indication of how our public safety department is working. And
Yeah, so they've ranked us, this is for a 2015 year, and they've ranked us, up there under, I want to say 25 for the last couple of years. I think if we read the email from here, our previous rank was 15, so we dropped to 9. It certainly only deals with violent and property crimes. I'm not so sure we'll be in the top, because we had a murder in 2016, so I'm not sure where we'll be there. But what it doesn't include is it doesn't include disturbances. It doesn't include domestic violence type of issues where there's not an assault but there's an argument or something. It doesn't include motor vehicle crashes and things that we do every single day. It's based on the uniform crime reporting that we submit to. So,
Okay.
but it's a lot of people comment on it. It's a nice thing to talk about.
I don't want to put you on the spot. About how many calls do you get, say, in a day or a month?
Well, in a year we handle about 16 to 17,000 calls for service.
Okay, so that's quite a bit of calls. So,
So-
it's interesting because I don't know if people understand that magnitude, I guess. So 16 to 17,000 calls. That certainly to me is a lot of calls based upon the number of staff that you have, and still being able to do the tremendous job that you do. So, Mr. Kimball.
And I think what most people don't realize is what you guys do, based on other communities, is your outreach programs, whether it be through the school system or through drugs or some of the programs that you guys have come up with as a group. I mean, the whole department's done a great job of making not only themselves visible, protect us, but also on the other side of the coin, being out there and being accessible to everyone and having the opportunity to get to know people and address issues before they happen. And I think that's a big portion of what this report shows. It reflects the amount of dedication your officers have making those connections with people, and getting involved with the schools and the community as a whole. I mean, I think that's how you reach the top 9. That's how it happens. It's unfortunate sometimes, like any town, you're going to have a serious incident like a murder or something of that sort. I mean, that happens even in Mayberry. I mean, it's the way it is. But I think, for the most part, we're very fortunate to have a police department that is proactive in trying to reach out and find solutions before the problems actually do happen, and that helps us get there.
Yeah,
think
I
that's a
appreciate
good
that. I think it says a lot about the town of Norton and the community and, what's acceptable and what's not acceptable as well, so.
Yeah, makes a difference, without question. Mr. Seville.
Chief, I like how you more and more Facebook postings about what's happening, with whether it's an accident or don't call us if we're seeing if we have school tomorrow type things. But believe it or not, there's a lot of people that read that, and I think the information is very important. The way the department has a chance to do it, to let people know what's going on. It's very, very, very good.
Certainly in this day and age, that's becoming or is a top priority now. Everything is online and just immediate type of information.
Yeah.
So as much as we can get that out, whether it be through fire or police or even through the town, that's helpful to the residents without question. Even not in non-emergency situations.
Yeah.
Twitter is already being used a lot, so I wouldn't get on there, but Facebook's a good idea.
Twitter was in trouble until recently, I think.
Still tweaking.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
If I could, Mr. Chairman.
Sure.
Take maybe 5 minutes of your time for Jared Morse. When you talk about social media, he's one of the new officers that have been assigned to social media. He's been putting stuff up a lot about the accidents and crashes and things like that. But I had come to you before about the memorial that we're planning, and he has a sketch that he drew on what it's going to look like, what the plan is, and if I could call him up and he can just make a couple quick statements about it. So.
Evening, Jared.
Good evening. Thank you, Chief. Thank you for having us here this evening. And also, congratulations to Mr. Archer and Mr. Sullivan. I know personally they've worked very hard, and they definitely deserve this appointment from you guys. This is it's a quick drawing, kind of just kind of the idea that our planning committee has come up with, and something we're pushing forward. As a department, we're in the process of planning to build this memorial to be a public place to pay homage to any officers who have unfortunately made the ultimate sacrifice, a sort of community gathering place any time of either celebration or an unfortunate incident, something like that. It's a place where be open to the public. The entire community is going to be welcome to come. It's going to be the focal point in front of our station. As you can see here, this is going to be on the front lawn of the station. It'll be visible from the street as well, as specially designed to come up and interact with in person. We're going to be going into the sort of fundraising part of our project here, and tonight's going to be kind of the kickoff to our fundraising efforts. We'll be putting it out on Facebook and Twitter and going forward more with the public, but this is kind of our unveiling to the public of what we've been working on. We'll also be kind of putting together a plaque for donations and stuff like that. So at the completion of our project, we'll have a plaque especially designed and put in the lobby of the police station that's going to tribute to anyone who's donated to help this project along.
Certainly looks wonderful, without question, yeah.
Josh.
So Jared on the side
Yeah.
actually does this type of drawing,
Okay.
so.
We've also had a number of companies in town, representatives from those companies help us out with the planning process, and
Okay.
we're going to be opening it up to more as we can.
So you're accepting donations now, you said? Or today is the,
Yeah, today is essentially our official kickoff. We'll be putting it in place to make donations through the Norton Police Association, through the unions, and
okay.
they'll be going into the funds.
And if somebody wanted to make a donation from home, they would just go on your website in order to locate that? Or
Yeah, we'll be putting it out on the Facebook and Twitter, especially just so everyone knows exactly the process and procedure for that.
Sure.
Tonight's just kind of just getting our initial word out and just kind of letting everyone see what we have.
So I certainly think it's really a nice idea and a great idea as far as, honoring those that are served, have served, and I think certainly we'll see a lot of people going there and visiting it and so forth. It'd be nice if we get some sidewalks there, that way people can walk down the road, right?
And that's our hope too, just to bring
2018 we'll have it, right?
just to bring regular foot traffic to the station as well. Just-
Yeah. So that's really nice. Mr. Salvo.
Do you have an approximate amount what you're shooting for to raise to build this?
So we had a golf tournament that raised a good amount of money. We're probably looking for an additional $10,000. We think this is gonna cost upwards of $26,000 or $27,000.
Cool.
I can tell you from my own experience with the Trent Memorial, the monuments alone are probably the most expensive part of it.
Yeah.
Raising the funds to make that happen, so if you could do us a favor and come back and let us know how you're progressing with this.
Of course.
Keep it focalized also from this part of the
Yeah,
side too.
we'll continue to try to do that through our social media as well. Keep everyone updated with how close we're getting to our goal and how the project's proceeding.
I think you're doing a pretty good job of planning it, because I think I drove by there one night and I saw some cardboard cutouts or something.
Yeah, we've also done.
We
we've
never
done-
went that far. We just put everything in there, so I hope it looks good, At least you guys are thinking about what you're doing, and it's,
Thank you.
that's gonna be a very nice addition to the front of that station.
What do you
It'll look nice up there.
think the timeframe would be, I guess, when we raise all of that money, I guess, or
Initially, we were looking at a time of hopefully May of this year.
okay.
That's what we're-
That's fairly quickly then,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, that would be wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chief. Mr. Self, if we could still continue while we're on the
Last
appointment here. Yeah, let's continue.
To the Board of Selectmen, from Michael D. Units, Town Manager, dated February 6, 2017. Notice of appointment of foreman. I hereby notify the Board of Selectmen that in accordance with the provisions of Article 4, Section 2B in the Norton Charter, acting in my capacity as the appointing authority, I have appointed the following individual as a foreman: Thomas Watson. Said appointment was made on February 6, 2017. In accordance with the provisions of Norton Charter, will be effective February 21st, 2017, unless the Board Selectmen vote to accept or reject this appointment prior to said date. Especially request this Board to accept this appointment as effective date of February 6, 2017.
Do I have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? Given none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I too vote aye, that is unanimous. And then we also have in the packet from the Conservation Agent, Jennifer Carlino, Open Space Plan Update Committee appointments. The following people attended the Open Space Update meeting on January 26th and have agreed to be appointed to the Open Space Plan Update Committee. Please appoint them at your next meeting. The purpose of the committee is solely to update the open space and recreation plan, and the term will last until the plan is updated, October 2017. The committee plans to meet on the last Thursday of each month, 6:30 PM in the second floor meeting room. So the individuals up for to be appointed would be Jean Blood from the Conservation Committee, Earl Wilcott, Lisa Carosa from the Conservation Committee, Craig McQuown, Kathy Ebert-Zawowski from the Land Preservation Society, Nick Schleicher from the Rec Commission, and Conservation Agent Jennifer Carlino. So I would entertain a motion to appoint those following individuals to the Open Space Plan Update Committee, effective immediately. Fine.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Given none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I too vote aye, that is unanimous. Mr.
If-
Units?
If any of the board members wanted to be on the committee, they could, Jen has asked that a
Oh,
board
okay.
member be appointed. So if you could think about that and see.
Okay. Thank you. And then also, we have a ZBA vacancy/appointment for member Frank Reynolds.
Want me to just-
Yeah, if you could, Mr. Units. Thank you.
This is very interesting. I never knew this law existed. Frank was on the ZBA, and Frank moved out of town recently. He's willing to complete his term, and there is a provision in state law that allows the Board of Selectmen to, on an appointed committee, to allow a person to complete their term. And so it's under Mass General Law, Chapter 41, Section 109. If an appointed town officer removes from the town in which he holds office, he shall be deemed to have vacated his office, and which has happened. But under the provision, the Board of Selectmen can vote to have Frank Reynolds fulfill that position. So he will be sworn in again, but you do have the right to do that.
Mr. Kimball?
Yeah, I think, first of all, we have to, it's a bigger picture than just Frank moving out of town. There are a lot of issues that are going on right now in front of the ZBA that Frank has been a part of. And if in fact, because he's not an alternate, he's a permanent member, if in fact he were to not be able to serve, it would probably put the rest of the members of the ZBA in kind of a tailspin, because there's a lot of issues that are on the table that have to be finalized. And I think what's going to happen, if Frank does decide to move back to town and stay with us, that would be, he's always done a great job, and I hope he considers doing that. But I think it's more important for people to understand that there are a lot of issues. 40Bs is a perfect example. As an alternate member or a permanent member, you have to attend every meeting. If for some reason you can't attend them all, that's when the alternate steps in and tries to fill that spot. But at some point, if in fact you don't meet the criteria of meeting the certain amount of meetings,
Can't vote.
you can't vote on it. So that's what the problem is. So, and on another note, I serve proudly with two members on the Gold Star Committee. Neither one of them live in town. They're appointed by us, but they don't live in town. Bill Novick has been with me from the beginning on the Gold Star. He recently moved to Norwood, Mass. And he has been a number one. He's been one of the most dedicated people I've ever worked with. John Dennehy is the commander of the VFW. He was appointed by the VFW to serve as a member of the Gold Star Committee on behalf of the VFW. They're both out-of-town people. Bill lives in, he's moving to Norwood, Sharon area, and John lives in Taunton. they both grew up here, though. They're both from Norton. So this wouldn't be the first time we've appointed somebody that didn't live in town, so. So having said that, I would make a motion to appoint Frank Reynolds to the firm position on the ZBA. I have to read that.
Unless you want to have Bob Salvo.
No, I can't
So we'll read it.
Can't even see it.
I move that the Board of Selectmen voted to appoint, Frank Reynolds, a longtime ZBA member who recently established permanent residency in Wareham and gave immediate notice of that fact to the town of Norton, and so has vacated his ZBA seat under General Law, Chapter 41, Section 109, to fill the vacancy due to Mr. Reynolds' long and dedicated experience with the ZBA, and due to the fact that he is willing and committed to continue this service to the town in this fashion, and in this limited and unusual circumstances, the Board of Selectmen will willingly appoint a non-resident to fill the vacancy to retain existing and well-established expertise. That's the formal motion.
I have a motion and a second. Any questions for discussion? Given none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I too vote aye, that is unanimous. Okay, we'll head back over to new business again. MMA files legislative package, Mr. Eunice, 2017-18.
I provided you with that package. You can look through and see if there's any of the laws that you think you might be interested in. Some of them are kind of crazy and will go nowhere, but some of them could have some interest. The one that is crazy, I think, that's going to go nowhere, I can't see anyone doing it, would be the one to allow the town to put a 5 cent per gallon tax on gasoline.
And that would be a town tax.
Yeah, for stormwater infrastructure. I don't think that's going to happen. But there are other ones, interesting ones, that we could probably look into more. One is payment in lieu of taxation. So it would allow cities and towns, upon a local vote, to require certain tax-exempt charitable organizations to make payments in lieu of taxation of up to 25% of what they actually would pay if they were paying taxes. So you'd have to look at that and see, could we target it just to Wheaton College so we get a pilot from Wheaton? Or does it have to be open, so you'd have to go after every nonprofit? So it's something that'd be worth looking at.
Okay.
Other ones, municipal control of liquor licenses. I know that went to the legislature before and went nowhere, but it would allow towns to determine if they want more liquor licenses in their towns.
What's the promoting local economic development?
Right, that's another one that would be worth looking at, to see what sticks are gonna be with that, you know, what are they gonna want you to do in order to help you out, you know?
There won't be any of those mandates.
Civil service reform, you know, the civil service system's become really antiquated. It's not worth all the effort that you have to put into it. They've been cutting staff, and so this would allow towns to get out of the civil service a little easier. Municipal unemployment insurance reform. I don't know why they don't have the guts to do this. I know the MTA is very strong, but it's just mind-boggling that they cannot correct that situation, that, you know, a teacher should not be able to collect unemployment until they don't get hired in September, because they're getting paid
Oh, throughout the year.
throughout the year. And,
Right. Theoretically, right.
but if they get laid off, once the school year ends, they start collecting, even though many of them are gonna get hired again. But it's just, and also, part-time workers in the schools start collecting in the summer. Something's gotta be done with that. The other one,
What about the utility?
is municipal authority and public rights of ways, which would give towns more rights over the utilities, and if there are delays in replacing poles and double poles. Same thing that was submitted before and went nowhere, but we'll see. And another one for municipal purchase of utility poles that would allow you to include depreciation. So some of them may be worth looking at. If you look at that, let me know if you want me to get more information on any particular one. I'll work to get that.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Sullivan?
Mike, whatever happened to I was gonna bring up a good point, but it wasn't in there, that we should be getting money from the lottery, but we were supposed to get money from the lottery every year for maintaining our roads. Does that still come to us? Or is it in smaller fractions, like pennies now?
Well, all the lottery money was supposed to go to the towns, but
Where is it?
some of it comes to the towns, but some of it's been siphoned off to other places. But they have, in the last few years, made a better effort on the Chapter 90. That has gone up.
Does that end up just in the general fund then?
What's that,
The
Chapter 90?
The lottery money?
Yeah, it's
Just
it's
ends up in
local.
the general,
Yeah, it's that
right.
4%.
And then they basically do what they want with it.
Right.
Okay. Town manager report.
Tonight, Bob and I went to Mansfield for the Route 140 corridor study. I'd like to thank Serpent for all the work they've done on that. They put a lot of time and effort into that, and thank our state senator and state reps for pushing that to get that done. There was a good crowd there. There were a lot of people, quite a few people from Norton also. They had some good points. First thing on the agenda was the 123, 140 intersection, and it didn't get an F, it got an E. So not quite as bad, but it's close. So they do agree that there has to be work on that intersection. And there has to be everything has to be updated there. The next, obviously, critical area was down at the Roach Brothers Plaza. Some of the concerns raised, that obviously the south side of the plaza, that exit coming out, that something should be done to restrict that to right-hand turn only coming out of there. Because right now, there was talk how people are coming out of there turning left, and people are coming out of the bank right across the street turning right, and
We're trying to go straight across.
straight across
Right,
is a big concern also. So
Okay.
there was a lot of accidents at that intersection also. And then there was concern raised by residents, and Bob and I both noticed it on the way back. You get off the highway and it's 45 miles an hour right on 140 right there. And there's not another sign until you get up by Sangs
Thanks, yeah.
to drop it down to 40. Right when that narrows down before you get into Norton, it should drop. And there should be speed limit signs there. And that's what people were saying. Just put up some speed limit signs.
There was 12 signs that said, no parking on state highway.
Yeah. And,
Right.
and the other concern is there's a lot of driveways coming out in that section too.
I mean, that one lady, I understand the concern about the trucks entering and exiting the New England ice cream. I mean, yeah, those should be put up probably this year, I would think, by the state, right?
What's that?
Trucks entering?
Yeah, the signs.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with her on that, but.
And we did talk about, at the intersection, obviously, some of the things. They mentioned that trucks can't take turns because of where the stop lines are. They're gonna move the stop lines back to allow trucks to make the turns. We talked about the signalization, how if you're heading west on 123, the cars coming east get the green light before you get the green arrow to go left, which doesn't make sense.
Right.
The two lefts should happen at the same time.
I'm trying to think of even why trucks would be going through that intersection, going from Norton to Taunton. I mean, I guess you're going to the Taunton Industrial Park, but there's got to be another route for that, I would think.
There's a lot
Yeah.
of, there's even a lot
South
of
Washington
local-
Street,
Yeah.
Pine Street.
Well, no, yeah. I guess that's not a good spot either.
I mean, it's not, that's,
No, but
Really isn't much.
that whole corner there for an 18-wheeler.
But you'd be surprised the number of semis that are like dump trucks, like Lopes or
Oh.
New England Recycling.
Yeah.
Where it's local traffic,
Yeah.
and they're on a main road. It's better
Oh, I
than
guess so.
taking the
Okay,
back
yeah,
roads.
yeah.
Like going down John Scott Boulevard and South Worcester.
Right, I guess I'm
I'd
just
rather
thinking of these 18-wheelers, because I see those sometimes. and-
I mean, you see,
They can't
but
make
the
that corner.
majority of it is,
Yeah.
I think, the semis are the dump trucks.
Yeah,
Like Bill Ross had a, he was great. Fix the little stuff that doesn't take any money. That's the little stuff, getting traffic to flow.
signs.
You know,
right.
I understand all that. The big infrastructure stuff, that has to take some time, but the way it's going, like they said, we'll draw it up, it'll sit on a shelf, and it'll be there 2018, we'll still be talking about the same thing again.
Yeah, that was the frustrating, with things that should be easy to do that aren't done, like the stupid red light on 140 heading into Mansfield. There's no
Oh,
purpose
yeah.
for that red light.
Right? It
And-
really isn't, no.
Mansfield wrote letters to the state 4 years ago. I mean, what is the big deal? You can't just change that to a flashing yellow
Flashing
light
yellow
all
is
the
okay,
time.
right. So I can see if they had that, if there was a ramp on that side, I could see maybe why they would have that light there, but there's not.
And they did mention, coming out of the Roach Brothers Plaza, a lot of this stuff, there was a study done, and it was suggested back in 2005 to restrict that south and exit.
Even so far as my mother-in-law just mentioned it to me yesterday, as a matter of fact, painting the lines in front of where you're coming out of Roach Brothers, where the McDonald's exit is there. Painting the lines there, the lines aren't painted there, so she couldn't tell if somebody was taking a left or going straight or whatever. You couldn't see. So I mean, that's not a whole lot of money.
It's not, but I understand why they're doing all this, and it's like if they don't have a study and they don't have an engineered plan, and they send somebody out there to change it, and then you get a lawyer that somebody gets in an accident, gets killed there, and they're gonna go back to who gave you the authorization to do this. It's a pain in the butt, and that's what it's all about.
It's too many lawyers.
Of course it is. That's what it's all about.
Just to put up a stop sign, if you don't go through the whole study, and people say that, well, we gotta hire an engineer. If you don't go through the study and someone gets in an accident where that stop sign is, the first thing the lawyer does, they go back and look for all the paperwork on who authorized that sign to be there.
Sometimes I'm wondering if we just put the lights on flashing yellow, it'd probably be a lot better. Remember the time when the power went out and we said, holy God, no, we don't need a light.
Traffic's flowing okay.
Yeah, it was perfect.
Yeah, it's, yeah. Okay.
I live not too far from there.
All right. Mr. Units, regional.
Yep, just all four towns have now signed the agreement, and the agreement has been sent to state 911. And so everyone will be working now into the fall, beginning some of the design of how things are going to operate. The goal is to put a director in place in the fall who then can start organizing training for the current dispatchers and give them an opportunity to get the right training and possibly be hired at the new center.
Okay.
Town meeting articles. Before I give the articles, I'll just give you some information on revenue. Required to provide that the third week in February, and be emailed to you and the school committee and the finance committee, and I've emailed that to them also. So the first sheet you have shows you what we're estimating for new growth, our increment, that's our 2.5%. The governor's estimate for local aid, our local receipts. You'll notice, well, you won't notice there, but under local receipts, oh, I think I did give you the local receipts, the second page. You'll notice that under rentals, we've gone from 6,000 to 86,000 because of the property we were leasing for the solar farm, and we did get our first $80,000 check last week, which is good to see. In the last sheet I gave you, the budget process is ongoing. Departments have all submitted their budgets. My assistant is inputting all that information. And we're going to start meeting, the first meeting of the Finance Committee will be 27th of February. They're going to meet Monday and Wednesday that week. The school department's meeting on their budget on the 27th. So then they'll submit their budget to me, and I'll incorporate all our, what I did on this budget, this sheet I gave you, just to give you an idea, if general government, the schools, and our fixed and shared all went up 3%. That's just what I put in there now. I don't have any of those numbers yet. I don't have the school budget. I don't have our budget. But just to give you an idea, that would have to do some cutting because we'd be at almost 300,000
Right.
deficit with a 3% increase. So we're still looking at all the numbers. You know, our insurance, health insurance came in good this year, 5% increase. So that'll help us. And we'll continue to look at all the numbers and see if there's a.
Mike,
Steele?
so even with the good news about some increase in revenue and the health insurance, even with all the good news out there, we're still looking at about $300,000 shortage just to level fund last year?
Yes. And that's, I'm waiting to see what the school, because I'm just saying 3%. I don't know,
Right.
they may not consider level service as 3%. It may be more than that, so I'm waiting to see. And then I'll be looking at all our town budgets also. And one thing I just want to bring up, I know that when we go over this list of articles, some people say, oh, there's not going to be an override. There's no article for an override. I want to make it clear to people so they understand there is no article for an override. There is a ballot question if you have an override, but the override itself is just based on, at town meeting, what budget they vote. So if in April there was a ballot question and that ballot question passed, then I would assume the Finance Committee would recommend a budget that would be in line with that yes vote. If it went the other way around and you went to town meeting first and people wanted to push for an override, you would vote an A budget, say a level funded budget, and you'd vote a B budget, which would be an override budget. And then if that passed, the B budget, then you would go and have an election. So there is no question on a warrant that says override on it.
Right.
It's not like a debt exclusion for a project. So the articles that we have list of, typical Chapter 90, retirement expenses, collective bargaining agreements, water pollution abatement trust, tree services for the highway department, placeholder there for the town common revitalization project. We have a pilot for that large solar facility on Hill Street, which would be a 20-year pilot. Then we have to determine if we want to put any money into a Chapter 40B legal fund. We'll be looking at the balance on that. The charter amendment to have water and sewer commissioners elected, going from elected to appointed. And then the typical water enterprise budget, the sewer enterprise budget. Then Article 13, capital improvement appropriation. 14 would be approving the capital plan. Then Article 15 is the budgets. 16 is our standard revolving funds. We do it all as one article now. 17 is under the new laws that were passed this year by the governor. There's a new law affecting revolving funds that we're looking at. The next one is bylaw on performance deposits. What this is, previously only planning boards could ask a developer to pay give them a check to hire a consultant to review a project. This would allow other town departments, this was just part of the new reform. This would allow other departments to do the same thing. The next thing is also part of the legislation, it's license and permit denials. Right now, we have the bylaw, license and permit denials, but the previous law was that you could deny a permit to someone only if they were over 12 months in payments to the town. Now it could be, if someone is less than that, you still could deny the permit. And people say, oh, well, they're not going to get well, you could set up a payment plan, as long as there's something in place at the treasurer's office. The next one would be if we do any amendments to the salary plan. Then the zoning, there's 3 articles on zoning amendments. One is the Leonard Street Houghton Farm property. The second one is, there's a piece of property down on 140 that is zoned industrial, but all the property around it is residential, and it's a residential house. So the homeowner's looking to have that changed to residential. And I skipped, I got the 2 140s mixed up. The first one is Mansfield Ave. That's the same that we talked about last year, and it didn't move forward because of the notification requirements. That would, and the planning board is having another discussion on that on the 21st of February, if anyone's interested. There was discussion, Bob Kimmel and I were at the last meeting on these articles. And then the third one is that piece on Taunton Ave. And the next one is, I'm trying to think of what Article 12 zoning amendments was. There's another, they're looking to change possibly something in the bylaws. I think it may have to do with the notification that came up before. 25 is if we're looking at, we've been doing codification of our bylaws, and that would be if anything's needed for that. Then the OPEB funding, stabilization fund, and unpaid prior year bills. So we've sent a draft of all the articles to town council to be reviewed, and then we'll be bringing that to you once all the wording is approved. And just talking on the timeline again, I know that people get frustrated, but per the charter, as I've done tonight, 3rd week of February, I supply Finance Committee, School Committee, and yourselves with an estimate of revenues. School Committee, by charter, has to submit their budget to the town manager 8 weeks prior to the town meeting, which would be March 10th. And then the town manager's budget is due to the Board of Selectmen and Finance Committee 6 weeks prior to town meeting, March 27th. Now, we'll try and speed that process up, but just wanted to let people know that's the process. There is a town charter, and that's the process. Those are the timelines. And
Okay.
we'll see what happens when we go through the budget process.
Mr. Kimball?
Yeah, and in this budget process, I would ask the town manager to, I'd like to do it a little bit differently than we have in the past. I know that sometimes the finance committee sees it before we do. And not just, I mean, the town manager is the chief financial officer. He has the right to present his own budget. We're just kind of here to advise, I guess, to a certain extent. But I think it's very important that we from the beginning, be a very, very big part of this process, because I think we have to understand we're showing a negative now, but that can grow between now and the town meeting. But, you know, even though we always seem to have a crisis every spring, and we always come back in the fall, and always seem to find some free cash or some money to make it all happen, people have to understand that even though that happens, we're still making reductions in the programs in town. I mean, it's just the way it is. And something has to give along the way. So this year, more so than ever before, I think we have to have a clear understanding about what we're spending our money on, what we're going to get for our tax dollar, and more importantly, what we're not gonna get. And I think we have to be very clear on that whole process. So I know I'm part of this ad hoc committee, and we're looking at numbers way in advance, much sooner than I've ever looked at them before. And some of these, there are issues coming to the surface already that could become a bigger problem as we go along, so. But I want to make sure we stay on top of this and continue to talk about the issues that might be coming up.
Yeah, makes sense.
Just to let people know, or let the board know, because you're the one that would have to make the decision if it does come up for an override. March 27th is the absolute deadline for the printer for the ballot. So if it's going to be on the April warrant, that decision has to be made prior to that.
Mr. Salvo.
I think that, if there is a possible potential talk of an override, I think that we all know that it should not be a one-sided override. I won't support a one-sided override. I think that we need to, as this board, we don't have a lot of time, we need to start figuring out what we need for finances and what we're gonna do with our money, if and do we put this package together. I have no idea what we should do, where we need it, but maybe we should have a separate meeting without being a televised meeting and do a roundtable discussion. I'd rather not do this and, hash it out over the air. I just think that we need, amongst ourselves, to figure out, okay, we need this, we need that, and this, and then that'll give me something to go towards this fast-tracking thing, the end of March.
Yeah, so I think that's what this ad hoc committee has been doing for a little bit, so.
Tim, I understand that. I'm not saying that school part of it, but we need to have discussion amongst Brad, you, and I, of what, not everybody else needs to make. We all need to make a decision together.
Sure. Oh, no.
On our side.
Yeah.
They're talking about ad hoc over there. I don't know what's going on over here.
Well, we, as one member of the committee, I can tell you that we also have, it's not just school, we have been looking at, working with our department managers, trying to figure out what we would possibly need on the town side of government. So to answer your question, if you want to know what that information is, we already have it. So if you want to have a meeting, I don't know, we can go in exec session and talk about this stuff. It has to be done in open session. But we already have the numbers. Town managers are already working on them. Mary Steele and I are on that same committee. We have that information. It's not one-sided. It's pretty much looking at years and years of reductions we've made in certain programs and how.
No, I'm not going to sit here and argue about it, Bob, because I'm going to tell you,
I'm
Brad
not
and I
arguing.
feel like we're left out.
I'm not arguing.
And it's like, where's our input been since
Let
this
me-
whole thing's been all discussed?
So if we could-
Let me finish what I was saying. First
I
of
don't know
all,
if you feel that way or
I'm not
not.
arguing with you. I'm trying to give you some information. The information is out there. We just had a meeting, 2 days ago? About some of the information Mary Steele could make it that night, about what some of the recommendations that the town manager's looking at through his department heads. And this isn't an argument. I'm trying to let you know that that information is available, and we're more than willing to talk about it. And it probably will and should be on the next agenda to talk about it, so everybody's on a clear, precise understanding about what's happening. It's not on tonight's agenda. I don't feel comfortable talking about
I
it.
don't want to talk about that.
But I want to put it on the next agenda so we can bring you guys up to speed. And I'm not suggesting that even I agree with it. I just want you guys to know where we stand on it.
So Mike and I had a conversation earlier today, but I'm going to go with Mike and then Brad and then Mary. But Mike, go ahead.
I asked town departments when they submitted their budgets to give me a level services budget and then give me a needs budget. So I'll bring that information to next week's meeting, like the fire department. What would it cost you to open Chartley? Police department, what do you need? Library, what they need to be open 50 hours a week. What do we need in here as far as staff? So I've asked that, and I'll get all that information together and bring it next week.
Brad,
Okay.
or Mr. Burnham.
First, I just want to say that the time we had the joint meeting, did feel exactly like Bob. I was out of it, didn't have a clue what was going on. Since that time, I've reached out to Mary, her being one of our representatives to this committee, and she has given me information about what's going on. And I've shared my concerns, like not just for regular expenses for what's going on, but maybe to plan ahead, what are the mortgage payments going to be, like if we were to build a town hall or a senior center? Things that, so I've given my input to her to take to that group. I haven't gotten any figures, really, that I can remember, but I've gotten a general idea of what the group's doing, so I don't feel completely left out like I did before. And Mary has freely, we can converse one-on-one, so we're not breaking any laws, where if we all five got together and talked, we're in trouble. But I was, hope that Bob could reach out to either Mary or Mr. Kimball and converse and get the background, because I feel much more comfortable with what's going on with that ad hoc committee, since I've spoken with Mary several times. And she's given me mostly general feedback about what the school wants, but more important to me is the fact that we're looking out for what the municipal side needs. And they've taken, I feel, my thoughts and ideas and questions about the future for the municipal side into account and brought that to the table.
Okay. Ms. Steele?
Brad handled that for me. Thank you.
Okay. So I think I would agree with Brad as well. That previous meeting that we had, the joint meeting, I was somewhat out there as well. I wasn't aware of a lot of things that were going on. I've had discussions with some people on the board with regards to town manager, with regards to what is happening. But I think, Mr. Salvo, I think we're going to be all on the same page here. It's just a matter of getting us all the information. So I think if we can put this on for next week's, on the agenda for next week's meeting, or the meeting that we have.
No, next week.
What's that? It'll be next week. Okay,
We have a
thank
couple
you.
people coming already.
Which I like that.
Chairman, I would ask, though, the town manager does have some very preliminary information, some numbers and stuff that we've been kicking around.
Okay.
It's very draft, very preliminary, but I'd like to make sure that Bob, you yourself, Brad, you get copies of that, so you have an understanding about what we're talking about.
Sure.
And what we're looking at. I don't think that's confidential. I think that's, as part of the ad hoc committee, it should be given to everyone anyway. But we just came up with these like 2 days ago, 3 days ago. And so we're still hashing everything out, but I want to make sure that everyone is informed.
Right, right. And I would agree, with what Mr. Salvo said before, and I think everybody on the board agrees as well, that it can't be a one-sided analysis, I guess I'll say. We got to look at all aspects of the town, whether it be school or municipal. So, and I think that, and I know that is what's happening, but we just need to get that information. Ms. Steele?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Two quick things. One, the purpose of getting together, having meetings since last June, was to make sure that this override, if there was going to be one, would not be one-sided, and also to start looking at numbers and actually more needs, because we didn't have any numbers of what the real needs might be moving into the budget season. As far as the budget goes, this year isn't any different than any other year. We're not normally active in the budget. The town manager brings the budget to us. Because of this ad hoc committee, and because of the shortage that we have on the town side and the potential shortage on the school side, there is an underlying feeling that we may need to go forward with the override. I've tried to bring information back to the members of the board, but beyond that, the numbers, anybody in this board can walk into Mike's office and ask to look at the numbers as easily as I can or Bob can. So this isn't, one or two people on the board driving this. Everybody has the responsibility and the right to go in and look at the numbers whenever you want. I've tried to keep the board, and so has Bob, updated on, the ideas that the ad hoc committee has had. But as for actual numbers, we don't have any say over it any more than anybody else. And we have to wait and see what Mike's final numbers are, just as everybody else does.
Okay.
And again, we've been stressing transparency on this whole process. And I don't want anyone to feel like they're being left out of anything, because I've been on that side of it before myself as a member of this board. And that's not my intention, to leave anyone out of anything. I want to make sure everyone is advised. I respect everyone's opinion. You know, we don't always agree, but I think it's very important that everyone have an opportunity to see what we're talking about. And again, even though we're talking about it, doesn't mean we're gonna do it, we're just talking at this point. The town manager doesn't have a legal obligation until March 10th to give us a structured, balanced budget.
Later than that.
Yes, yeah.
We're asking for March 10th.
March 10th.
We want to know what the heck we're doing by March 10th.
Exactly.
But we have some very preliminary numbers, and we do have some dates in mind. I know the school committee's taking a vote on their actual budget on the 27th of February, and town manager's going to present his budget to us on March 9th, I think. That's one of the conversations we had, to see where we both stand as far as, you know, how we can fund fiscal year 18. So, but any information that we're using just for information, I mean, anything, is available to everybody here. And I don't want anyone to feel they can't get that information. And I want you to know that if you have a question, you can call me too, because I'm going to give it to you based on what I know. And that's, whether I agree or not, it doesn't matter. It's just going to be based on what I know, to my best of my abilities. So, but I want to make sure that we're all comfortable with this process. That word transparency keeps coming out, and I want to make sure that we're following that basic guide for this whole process.
Okay.
One other important thing, planning board, 3 vacancies, not one person has taken out papers, and assessors, 2 positions, and no one has taken out papers. So I've been told that people on the planning board are not running again, so there are open seats. It's not like you might feel like you're infringing on an incumbent. You didn't want to do that. And the same with the assessors. There are open seats. People that are on there are not running. So hopefully people out there will help the town out and come forward and step up on those positions. Planning board's very important to have a full board, because as Bob was talking earlier about the ZBA, if someone is involved and, you know, they're not there and they don't get a quorum, it could delay projects.
If anybody has any questions with regards to, you know, what's involved in being on the planning board or the assessors, certainly make a call to Mr. Units, and he can go through that.
And nomination papers, the last day to take out nomination papers is March 3rd, and they have to be back in by March 7th. So the time is running out, so hopefully people will come forward on that. Did the chief mention about his reaccreditation when he was here?
He did not.
They just went through the process recently, and they completed all the assessment for their reaccreditation. It's completed, and they met 257 standard. They met 257 standards and 80 optional standards. You needed 69 for accreditation. The assessors were very complimentary of the department, and comments were made about professionalism, progressiveness, leadership, and engagement. They were impressed with the department's handling of evidence and training, which has become important this year. The cleanliness of the building, as well as the fitness center and indoor range that many departments do not have, also received positive comments. They did make a couple on-site recommended changes, and the department will be sending out a training next week regarding vehicular pursuits. There was a lot of work that went into this by Lieutenant Jackson and Patrolman Malou, and the department will be awarded accreditation in May of 2017. So that's a lot of work for the people that do that. And I don't know if that was in your box. I got that in the mail. Wheaton's having a pancake breakfast March 4th. So if
Okay.
anybody's interested in town, it's 9 to 11, and students will be playing jazz while you're eating your pancakes. So it's at Emerson Dining Room, and parking is available in Lot 1 adjacent to the Elizabeth Amen Nursery School. So
Let me think cover it.
I've never heard pancakes and jazz in the same sentence.
It's okay, though. They're both good.
And if I could just give you one other update, I was visited by Gina Laurie, who's the Taunton postmaster. I thank her for coming over. I gave her the stack of issues we've had. We talked for quite a while, and I know that she has been taking some action because we've heard from the people that deliver here. So I want to thank her for coming forward. Hopefully she'll continue to work to get the situation straightened out.
Is there another way we can legally notify people using the postal service? Do you know of any, I mean, I know we have to start looking, I think the state has to start looking at the laws on how we notify people. And maybe the post office isn't the only solution. Maybe we need to be looking at other delivery agencies, I don't know.
I mean,
The internet, I'm not sure you can do it legally through emails, but, you know, we have to figure out another way to get this legal process done.
Oh, you can go around and have people sign that they've
So
received.
if I want to walk up to your door and say, you need to sign this and
Right.
hand it to them,
that would be an employee of, of the town that would go instead of a postal person. Okay.
so that is an option. Does it have to be a constable, or can we appoint somebody, or how's that work?
I'll check into it, but I know that if someone has a project, I believe they can go around and have people sign that they received
Almost
something.
like a petition. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Mansfield Ave. That was the issue we had the last time.
Yeah.
So let's say that we have 30 people that live around the project. Can we find, is there a way that we can have someone on our behalf other than the postal service? Maybe it's the constable, maybe it's somebody else. I'm not suggesting the sheriff's department, but, something of that sort that we could legally go out and notify these folks and would hold up
Right.
if we did it that way.
Well, we'll have to look at the bylaw and see what it says in the bylaw.
I think that's what I'm talking about. If we can look at what other options we have available, maybe change our bylaw, we probably should look at that. Maybe not, obviously not at this town meeting, but maybe in the near future, we should look at different options.
Yeah, if it's restricted in the bylaw, then at least give us other options, I guess. Okay. Anything else?
Nope, just the superintendent handed me this. He's going to come to next week's meeting also on the Education Program Plan Committee recommendation. And I have copies for everyone. I don't know if you want me to give them to you now or hold them for your packets.
No, I'll take them now, yeah. Okay. Selectmen's report and mail, Mr. Self.
Mr. Chairman, I just have one question to ask. I've had several people ask me in the last 2 weeks about the house on corner of Greatwood Circle. Who owns it?
Corner of where?
Greatwood Circle and Smith Street?
Great Woods and Smith Street.
Yeah. It's a deplorable house. It's been run down. Looks like a dump.
Is that the one-
Is it owned by
what's
Land
up-
Preservation?
Preservation land?
Probably, yeah.
There's a street that goes this way and Smith comes this way?
There's
Yeah,
Smith
that's-
Smith Street, and you got Greatwood
Yeah,
Circle.
yeah.
The red house?
Yeah, that's.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody told me that the people who bought it that own the Smith Street Trailer Park,
I'll look
not
it
sure
up.
if that's true, but if it is true, they need a letter sent to them.
All right, I'll look it up.
Okay.
It's a dump.
Yeah, yeah.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Ms. Steele?
Nothing, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Bramwell? Nothing. Mr. Kimball?
Yeah, just one more follow-up, Mike. Could you find out about what's going on with the affordable house in Arrowhead Village? That we were notified about?
I did talk with the woman from the state, and she said as soon as they have the guidelines, she's going to send them out, the income guidelines and what they're going to do to market it.
There's one department I don't have much trust in, that's capper in the state. So I want to make sure that this continues to be affordable. And there's an exclusion in this 40B law that once these are offered, you have like roughly, 90 days in order to sell the property before it goes back to market value.
not a long
resale.
time.
It's not a long time. And what I don't want to see happen is, this is a great opportunity for someone to own a 3-bedroom affordable house in Arrowhead Village, which is very nice, nice project. They did a nice job of it. Where you can actually buy it and it's still in the affordable classification. You know, they're allowed to add so much per year, but it's still way below market value. So I don't want this thing to suddenly disappear and get back on the tax rolls and we haven't done anything about it. So we ran into something like this a couple of years ago where we had another person who wanted to sell, and they decided to keep it because they realized they couldn't make that kind of money. But I don't want this to fall to the wayside, so you can stay on top of that for us, Mike, and let us know. That's it, thank you.
Okay, warrants and minutes, Mr. Salvo.
I have, Mr. Chairman, I have approved the biweekly payroll for the period ending January 28th, 2017, warrant number 46 dated February 2nd, 2017, in the amount of $1,274,566.83.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? Given none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I too vote aye, that is unanimous.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to approve bill warrant number 47 dated February 2nd, 2017, in the amount of $1,078,773.80.
A motion and a second on warrant number 47. Any further discussion? Given none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I too vote aye, that is unanimous. Mr. Salvo.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to approve bill warrant number 48 dated February 9th, 2017, in the amount of $481,883.26.
A motion and a second on warrant number 48. Any further discussion? Given none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I too vote aye, that is unanimous. Mr. Salvo.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to approve bi-weekly payroll for the period ending February 11th, 2017, warrant number 49, dated February 16th, 2017, in the amount of $1,205,616.67.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on bi-weekly payroll. Any further discussion? Given none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I too vote aye, that is unanimous. Mr. Salvo.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to approve the bill warrant number 50, dated February 16th, 2017, in the amount of $116,924.49.
Second.
I have a motion and a second on warrant number 50. Any further discussion? Given none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I too vote aye, that is unanimous. I think everybody has had an opportunity to take a look at minutes, which are dated November 17, 2016, December 1st, 2016, January 26th, 2017, and December 15th, 2016. Is there any questions, concerns? Given none, I would entertain a motion to approve those minutes as I just stated.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I too vote aye, that is unanimous. I have I'd like to just read before we move on. Just have a congratulations certificate here for Mr. Herbert Church. May it be known that this certificate is hereby presented to Herbert Church, who celebrated his 90th birthday on February 12, 2017. And this is presented by the Board of Selectmen of the Town of Norton. So I'd like to congratulate Herb on certainly his 90 years being here and all of the contributions that he's made to the town of Norton and to the VFW and to everything that he's done for us individually as well. So again, congratulations and happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Herb.
Okay, next week's meeting, we do have Paul Vessel, Director of Business Development from Northeastern USA regarding LED streetlight conversion. Number one, I know we have the school committee, Dr. Bayetta will be here. We'll have some discussion on the ad hoc committee Anything else that you guys have? The
Snow budget?
snow budget, yeah, so we got a little memo here, but that's fine, we can talk about the snow budget.
Snow budget, okay.
And maybe lodging, maybe?
Okay, as far as,
Yeah, just, I know we've asked for some updates as far as, just looking into specific areas of the town, I guess, maybe concerns. So we, maybe or maybe not.
Mr.
Mr.
Chairman,
Salvo.
just a comment, getting back to that thing I brought up a few weeks ago about Gator Investment Plaza.
Yep.
The new thing now that I found out, and I know this is something that management needs to address for the people, the tenants here. They have a new Planet Fitness that just got put in. It takes over 2/3 of the parking lot. And now the businesses that are trying to survive out there, like Fiesta and a couple other new ones, they tell me that their business is declining because people come in and they don't want to walk all the way from the other side of the parking lot. So this is a management thing that need to, I mean, people that have front parking should be assigned a
those
certain amount of
exercise
cars.
people should park away. If they
Well-
like exercising so much.
It's pretty,
Don't get in the way of us people that just want to go there to eat.
I mean, I'm glad Planet Fitness is there, don't get me wrong. But now, all of a sudden, now we have another issue with, tenant not getting,
Yeah, so, I know, in
Yeah, when?
a lot of places,
Crazy.
you go down the Cape or whatever, there's a lot of parking for only,
Right.
this establishment here type sign. So that would have to, they would have to contact Gator Investments,
Yeah.
I would say, to do that, yeah. And certainly, I wouldn't, I would think that Gator Investments wouldn't have an issue with that, I guess, but,
crazy.
I know, if it's not one thing, it's another, though.
On next week's agenda, could we maybe add an update on the town common project?
Okay, sure. Anything else? Okay, we do have an executive session this evening. So I declare under general law, chapter 30A, section 21A, subsection A, paragraph 3, that the purpose of the executive session will be to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining concerning the International Association of Firefighters, Norton Police Association, and CENA B. Because a discussion of the strategy in open session could compromise the purpose of the executive session, and with the board not to return to open session at conclusion of the open session.
Make me put my glasses on. Okay, I move the board go into executive session under general law, section 30A, chapter 30A, section 21A-3, for the purposes and reasons declared by the chairman, and with the board to not return to open session thereafter.
And I would entertain that as a motion.
Second.
A motion and a second. All those, Mr. Bremo,
Abstain.
Ms. Steele,
Yes.
Yes.
Salvo, Mr. Kimball, and I too vote yes. We have 4 yeses and 1 abstain. Okay, with that, I would then, anything else that comes before the board? I would entertain a motion to adjourn to executive session then. Yes, may I do that? Okay, great, thank you. Good night.